it's Donna. Welcome back to Willey Farms. As you can see, I'm right here in the Mercantile, and that's where you'll find all the things that you need to bring the birds and the bees into your backyard. Things like the beautiful bird houses that we have back here. We've got hummingbird nectar, we've got bird food, and all the things that you need for bringing those beautiful animals into your backyard. But today, we're going to talk about gardening with challenges. So I have a special guest that I want you to meet. We're going to talk with Mary and find out all about it. Let's go meet her. All right, so we've moved into the greenhouse and you can see all the beautiful flowers that we have. When you buy these flowers and you get them home, we want you to take care of yourself when you put them in the ground. So I promised you a special guest. Mary, come on in. This is Mary from Premier
Hello.
Physical Therapy, and she's got lots of really good information that we're going to share with you today. Mary, thank you for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's start here with the planters and the pots. So what do we need to know first off when we're doing this?
Okay, well, so guys, a big thing I want to go over first is that I'm a physical therapist and a hand therapist, so I'm looking out for your hands and also your whole body. So you see the height of this is a good working height. You don't want to stoop, you don't want to work on the ground that much because that's hard on your back, your hips, and your knees. So this is a good height for you. So if you have a means to make a planning table, that kind of thing, that would be best for you. So this will be your working height. Now, we also don't want you to have to reach a lot. So this is also, stay close to your body, especially if you're lifting stuff. Close to your body so that it adds to your body weight and your center of gravity over your feet, and you're not reaching out, which is not good for your back at all.
Okay.
Now, we talk about one thing you can do is that these pots are lovely. And a lot of times, this big stone ones really look nice, but they're really, really heavy. So this one here is not made of actual stone. It looks really good, but look, it's much lighter, so that helps you. And this one, which looks even more ornate and made of wood, is even lighter. So if you can, that's a good coping mechanism for you to use pots that are actually lighter anyway. So now you have a pot. You have to fill it. Okay, so what are you going to fill it with? Well, soil's really heavy, and a lot of times we add stone, pebbles to increase drainage, but they're heavy too. So, you know how when you get those Christmas packages or something from Amazon and it's filled with the styrofoam peanuts that keep flying everywhere, sticking to everything, kind of like the glitter in the Christmas cards? You can put them in the base of your pots, and that way it will drain, but it's much lighter. Also, what else you can use as a fun fact, you know those water bottles, which I have one over there, that are gonna degrade in landfills for over 10,000 years? You can put that in the bottom of your pot, and again, it will help drainage, but it's really light, it's air.
Because it all takes up space.
Exactly.
But it's not heavy. Yeah, and the styrofoam thing, I learned that a couple years ago, so I've been doing that.
And
yeah.
still allows drainage.
Yes.
So it weighs a lot less than all that extra soil.
Okay, so we've got the soil in here,
Yeah.
and we've made it lighter than it would be for all soil, but now we've got to get it to the ground, right?
Okay, so yeah, if that's what you're looking for, yes.
Okay.
If you have a wall, then leave it up there. Or if you have a 23-year-old son or grandson, let him lift it for you.
There you
But
go.
if you can't,
Okay.
again, you want to keep weight close to your body, and you don't want to stoop or bend with your back because that's really hard on your back and your hips. You want to lift with your legs. We've heard that before. And the reason why we want to do that is because these muscles are much bigger and can take that kind of weight much easier than these smaller muscles of our back. You want to keep your back in a good position and lift with your legs and not your back. And you can think about it this way. Think about hinging at your hips and your knees when you lift things. So if you go down, see how I'm bending at my hips and bending at my knees? Okay, now if I'm going to put this on the ground, again, I'm keeping the weight close to my body. And you can even go down, some people go down into a squat. I actually don't feel I have the best balance that way. So you can go down into like a half kneel, which I feel is more stable for me. And also, when you're doing gardening, if you have knee or hip problems, the leg that really has a hard time weight bearing, then keep that as your upper leg. And use those kneeler pads. Okay, a lot of people have arthritis, but it's not that you need to have a knee replacement. So be kind to yourself. Gardening is great for physically for you, gets you out and moving, especially with COVID. It's good emotionally. You get to be around these beautiful flowers, and you get to watch something grow. However, we don't want you to have pain to do that. Okay, so good ergonomics, making sure your body's efficient, your muscles don't, you have to work as hard. So if you're lifting close to your body, it's so, this is so light, it's like hard to demonstrate.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But anyway, and if you needed to too, you can always tip it a little bit, and that way you can have it even closer to your body. But the idea is close to your body. Okay, lift with your legs, lift your hips, bend, knees, hips, and not your back.
Okay, so now we've got the dirt in the planters.
Yep.
Now we need to talk about tools and
How about
gloves.
gloves?
Okay.
When we have things that are shiny, see how this is shiny? Really good tool. We'll talk about this later. And even telescopes, really nice. But see, when things are shiny, like think about ice. Ice is slippery, right? Your body has to work harder to stay stable on ice. Just like if you are walking on the sand. If you're walking on the sand, it is unstable versus it's a lot harder to walk on that sand than walk on the concrete or the boardwalk because it's more stable and your muscles don't have to work as hard. The muscles are more efficient. So when we are thinking about gloves, we want to think about having a texture to them. Okay, so see how the polymer side has a texture?
Those are really popular.
Oh,
yeah,
I can see
with
why.
Yeah.
This is nice because it actually gives. But so you have the texture here, but it doesn't limit my motion. Some gloves are really nice and they're really thick on the side and have good texture, so good friction to make the muscles work less. However, if there's so much rubber there that you can't bend your fingers easily, then that makes more work for those hands. Have you ever done a lot of work, like a lot of reading, and your hands cramp up? That's because the muscles are working too hard. You don't want that to happen. So when you are looking at gloves, you need to look at that. You want a nice, friction surface, textured surface, but you want to have free motion. And these give you really free motion.
So that would work well with a shovel like this, that's shiny.
Yeah, this would, because this gives you a nice texture that, see how it doesn't slide? So that means my muscles don't have to work as hard.
Okay.
So my muscles are more efficient. But on the subject of this, now let's say this is shiny, but we can make this better.
Oh, okay. We can make it better.
There are things called like vet wrap and Coban,
All right, so let's go over here and see what we've got.
where you can wrap.
Oh, this is like what golfers use?
Yeah. Yep,
Okay.
Yep. And so if it sticks to itself, but because it doesn't have adhesive, it won't destroy the finish of your tool. And you can even use this for things at home. Or if you have a tool you really love at home, but it's got a shiny surface to it. A lot of times this is called Coban, but vets also sell vet wrap. Again, this allows the friction to be there, so it makes the muscles have an easier time working, and you haven't injured or damaged your utensil at all.
And if your hand slides on something, that's where you're gonna create your blisters, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you don't want blisters.
Okay, especially when we sweat, and we sweat usually with gardening.
I glow.
You glow?
I glow.
I'm so glad you glow. But another nice thing about this is that it's a long shovel. Remember how we talked about good body mechanics? I don't want to stoop. I don't want to make my back work more. This is a nice, longer shovel. I don't have to stoop. See how I can keep my center of gravity over my feet and still get a good job done. Okay? So, again, even thinking about tool length. Now that we're talking about tool length, what's one thing that's really nice, if you can find tools with telescoping ends.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Because for good ergonomics, we don't want to have to reach. See how my weight is way over my, can you see how my weight is way over my feet? That makes your back work harder. We're gonna assume this is like a bush, not these pretty flowers that I'm not gonna touch. But with a telescoping end, see how my weight's over my feet? Now my back doesn't have to work as hard, so I have good muscle efficiency, so I'm less having a chance of injuring my back.
And you can still get that work done back there.
Yep, like when you do like hedge clipping and you have those ends that look like really bad because they're dead and you're like, I need to get those out of my healthy bush. Telescope out to where you need it and pull towards you.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, what else do we have back here?
Well, we have a few other things. Also, when we talked about in terms of tools, remember how we like texture? We like texture because then the muscles don't have to work as hard. All right, so some tools, like they have some really good tools here that have that textured finish, as well as being sculpted to fit your hand. Now, if you don't have those, or you have this favorite tool that is shiny, straight, or narrow, you can add foam tubes around them. Like some of those clippers, I don't know why they did them, but they like have ends, the handles that are like this big. They were never good for you anyway, but if you have those, you can get these foam tubes, stick them in the end and then that way it's a wider grasp for you.
Very good.
Wider
Okay.
grasp, let's talk about that too. So all our muscles have a good position in which to work. And you're like, what? What are you talking about, Mary? When you are working, you want to keep your muscles in the mid-range, we call it. So an example is, this is my bicep. If I am working, if somebody you come home from the grocery store, and I have a gallon of milk, and I pick up the gallon of milk off the countertop, that's really easy. But if someone puts the gallon of milk on the floor and I have to pick it up, that's harder. It's the same muscle working, but in this position, it's so long that it doesn't work as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So all our muscles are like that. That's why you don't want to do this, because your back's stretched out, your hamstrings are stretched out, and that's what makes you prone to injury. Same thing with your hand. So for me, a mid-range for my hand is about this. It's going to range per person. Like I'm sure Donna's hands look bigger than mine. So tools, see, hers are longer than mine.
A little
So
bigger.
my tools should be a little smaller than hers, because your muscles of your hand work best in that mid-range position. So this is not bad. This is pretty good. That's pretty mid-range. But if you have a thin tool, you want to try to make it bigger. And so you can use any of those foam devices or wrap it with the vet wrap or the Coban to make it fit your hand better so that your hand doesn't have to work as hard. Again, like we talked about, you want muscle efficiency. Just like walking on sand is harder than walking on the boardwalk. Same thing, using tools that are the wrong size will make your muscles work harder. Work smarter, not harder.
There you go.
Okay?
That's the takeaway.
And so here's another thing, like here, if you like to plant bulbs, we already talked about the length of this is really helpful because I don't have to stoop, I don't have to bend over. If you want to do bulbs, then get one of these that has an elongated handle.
Aha, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then all you're doing is almost treating it like a shovel, and it's much easier to do. And garden centers like Willey's can help you get those things. The big box stores, they have no idea what you're talking about. But it's your garden centers like Willey's that will help you get the tools you need if you just ask them.
All right.
Okay?
Well, thank you, Mary. I think we've covered everything.
I hope so. I think
All
so.
right. Well, there you go. Even if you have arthritis, you have some difficulty, you can still do the gardening. You just have to work smarter, not harder. So I think we got a lot of great information here. Thank you, Mary,
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me.
Once again, it's Mary from Premier Physical Therapy. I'm Donna, and you got some information now from Willey Farms. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again.